Okay, hello everyone, and welcome to week 3 of TAMUC Survival Guide COVID-19 5-week program. I'm Troy Hall, the moderator, and my group members are Michelle, Kiki, Deandra, Cece, and Deja. Each week, we will facilitate a session focused on COVID-19 programs that are relevant to the campus community. This program is hosted by TAMUC public health students that are enrolled in program information and evaluation class taught in the Health and Human Performance Department. Last week, we talked about how COVID can be prevented through social distancing and wearing masks. We also talked about which masks are effective and how to find that out. We know that health goes beyond being free of a disease. That also includes emotional and physical health. Today, our guest speakers will help guide a conversation focused on how we can work to maintain wellness during these times as we adjust to the new norm. I will let Michelle introduce our panelists.
Hello everyone, I'm Michelle. I have the pleasure of introducing our experts. With us today, we have Autumn Johnson, the Director of Campus Recreation at TAMUC. Previously, she worked in campus recreation at Mount St. Mary's University, Indiana University, Tulane University, and Texas A&M. Autumn received her bachelor's and her master's degree in kinesiology from Texas A&M. Next, we have Caleb Barnett. He's a licensed professional counselor at the TAMUC Counseling Center. He also serves as a staff advisor to the student organization Active Minds, and he is a key collaborator to Atypical Ambassadors. We also have joining us Dr. Nick Prattis. He is the director of the TAMUC Counseling Center. He earned his Bachelor's of Arts degree in Organizational Communication from St. Edward's University in Austin, and he received his Master's of Science in Counseling, as well as his PhD in Counselor Education and Supervision from TAMUC. Back to you, Troy.
Okay. Deandra, before we start the discussion, Deandra is going to kickstart the icebreaker.
Hi, I'm Deandra, and our icebreaker for today is, what new things have you discovered about yourself since quarantine? And we're going to start off with you, Autumn.
Okay, something I've discovered about myself. First of all, although I'm an introvert, I go crazy if I stay in my house all day, every day. We were working from home for a while and it was difficult. And then the other thing I realized is how much I smile at people and how much I use my smile as like nonverbal communication. And so even just like in the grocery store or just wherever, I was like smiling and like, oh, people can't see my smile. They don't know what, I'm trying to do. So those are two things that I've noticed as we've gone through this COVID stuff.
Okay, and what about for you, Caleb?
Yes, I like Autumn, have learned that a lot is lost when you're not able to show the lower portion of your face. So much I feel like happens there. Not only does it muffle your voice when you're wearing a mask, but you can't see smiles and the lovely effect they have. And if anybody needed any reminder, masks are also really bad for glasses. So they're a little bit there. I've learned that about myself.
And what about you, Nick?
I, like Autumn, and consider myself to be an introvert, and even introverts need interaction with people. That's what I've discovered about myself. I have not liked being so distant and so disconnected from family, from friends, from colleagues. Even having to adapt at work to this whole new environment has been very tough. And so introverts need people too, and I learned that very much so during this pandemic.
For our viewers, make sure y'all are dropping y'all feedback in the comments. For me personally, something that I've discovered about myself is that I like to sleep a lot. It doesn't matter how much I get, I can go to sleep and I can always get some rest. So we'll bring it back to Troy. Troy, what about you?
I've learned during this quarantine time, despite the hardships of losing my job, that I can still overcome those by I found a way to start my own business. So I overcame being in quarantine by getting income from that. So we're going to start this discussion starting with Autumn. Is the rec currently open? If so, how has the rec staff adjusted to keep up with COVID-19 precautions?
Yeah, great question. So yes, the rec center is open. We did close for a few weeks when the governor's order came out and closed all gyms in the state, but we reopened back on June 15th. And so we've been open since then. And we did have to make a lot of adjustments to create a safe workouts environment. And so I just want to talk about 4 of the things that we have done to create a safe environment for everyone who comes into the MRC. First of all, we made a lot of area modifications. And that meant that we created maximum capacities in each area. We spread out all of our weight machines. And if you've come in, you've seen that we've moved many of our weight machines onto a basketball court. We're also requiring facility reservations so that we don't hit that max capacity ever. We're limiting guests, and we also have guidelines even in our own offices of like, you know, how we interact in our offices. The second thing that I want to talk about is sanitization. So we're only doing equipment checkout of things that we can really thoroughly clean. So you'll see that there's some things that we're not offering anymore just because we can't really clean it really well. Our staff are going around and cleaning all the machines and the high touch points. We're also asking students who come in to work out to clean their spaces before and after use. We really believe that it's a shared responsibility to help clean the facility. And we're requiring masks as people are working out. The third thing that I want to mention is some sport modifications. And with that, I mean that we are only allowing sports where you can be physically distanced from each other. And so pretty much all of our contact sports, we are not doing right now. The other thing, sport modification that we've done is we are offering a lot of programs virtually. And so we'll touch on that a little bit later, I think, in the program. And then the fourth thing I wanted to say is we had to modify our risk management plans. Think about it. If there was a tornado and everyone is supposed to go into one space and shelter in place, well, then everyone's, you know, closer than 6 feet. So what do? So we had to modify our risk management plans, evacuation plans. We also had to change our CPR and first aid because we still want to protect our student employees from getting COVID, even though they are providing CPR and first aid. And so we had to certify all of our student employees to a higher certification level to keep them safe from COVID. So those are just 4 of kind of the main big areas that we adjusted to help everyone have a safe workout environment.
Thank you. Yes, COVID has really forced some everyday habits and routines to be changed. For example, like going out to eat, certain buffets are closed, and like even the seating inside the restaurant are like social distance. But for students who have been exposed to COVID and are needing counseling to cope with being in quarantine, Nick, is the counseling center currently open for virtual meetings? If so, what adjustments have been made in the counseling center to keep up with COVID-19 precautions?
That's a great question. Thank you. Yes, we are open. As a matter of fact, when we came back from spring break and begun to receive the notification of what was about to change, we literally converted and proudly so, a very, very personal face-to-face interaction with the students that we serve. Within 1 week, we converted to virtual online therapy for everyone that needed our services. And that it was quite an accomplishment to go from face-to-face type counseling to virtual counseling. First of all, we're required by our licensure to have 10.5 hours of training on just delivering teletherapy. And then thankfully we had the systems in place where we were able to make that available to everyone. And if anything, a good benefit from COVID-19 and going to teleservices, now all of our students who are in the Metroplex who it was difficult for them maybe to come to the counseling center for services, we now have full services available to them as well. So in COVID-19, we look for all the positives that we can find, and that is certainly one that we have found. But yes, we're offering all services, including our physician's assistant who provides medication management. That's all being done by teletherapy.
Mm-hmm. That's amazing that the counseling center is virtual. Not only that it's beneficial to students who want to maintain social distancing, but also students who are in quarantine. Autumn, how would you suggest students who are in quarantine or staying indoors to stay physically healthy?
Yeah, good question. And I like that you say, you know, either staying indoors or they're quarantining. I'll add to that list. We have students who are now 100% online. Maybe they're not e-commerce and they're not close to the MRC, so they can't come to work out. And so I kind of want to address all of these students. Maybe you're a student who is at high risk of effects from COVID, and so you don't want to go into, you know, as many public spaces. And so I want to address all of that. First of all, I'm going to actually list a lot of different websites, and so we will drop them in the comments and the chat, and so that you can have that. The first one I want to mention is our website for campus recreation. We have a link that's called Active Anywhere, and on the Active Anywhere website, there is a whole list of things that you can do, including there's already a lot of fitness content out there that we don't even have to recreate. And so we even just have like links to really free fitness content that is already out there that you can use. And so all of those links are on that Active Anywhere website. Also linked there is this really cool movement that is being done by universities all across the nation, and it's called the Recreation Movement. Mm-hmm. And basically all these universities, when we all went to online classes in March, the universities all came together, created this website and said, let's provide virtual fitness opportunities to our students. And so when you log in with your TAMUC email, you can actually have content that is both live and pre-recorded, and there is so much out there. You can find, you know, yoga, Zumba, cardio, any type of fitness that you can think of is on there from all different universities. That's Recreation Movement. And then also we are doing our own virtual content for both fitness classes and intramural sports. And so if you go onto our IM League's website, that's where you can register for these classes, and we offer them virtually. It's a A&M Commerce student who is leading the class and, you know, running the intramural sports. And so it's great. One thing that is interesting about working out virtually is that you can join all of these virtual classes or sessions or whatever, and you can just keep your video turned off. So you don't even have to have people see you attempting to do this, you know, online workouts, right? And so you can just do it in your own home, and there's just a lot of opportunities for you, even if you can't come to the MRC or if you're quarantining or anything like that.
Okay, thank you, Autumn. For the audience, if you have any questions, feel free to drop it below in the chat. And after the discussion, we'll have a short Q&A session. Okay, and Caleb, how can students stay mentally healthy while social distancing and taking online classes?
Great question. Yeah, so I guess I'd like to put out there that maybe in the age of social distancing does not have to equal emotional distancing. So I think that's really, really important when considering your health and well-being, and that is both physical as well as social, emotional. That yeah, find ways of connecting with your support. So while the virus, the COVID virus, does keep us separated, and the precautions separated from those that we love, those who we'd love to spend a lot of time with, find ways of still connecting with them in socially appropriate and safe ways. Make use of technology. So there's lots of forms. We all have miniature computers in our pocket in the form of cell phones. So making sure you have those, the apps. We have great video streaming that we can do to share what we're doing at a given time with our friends. I mean, I feel like that's really, really important. And a quote I came across the other day that I really liked that I wanted to share that basically goes like this. So the minute you were born into a relationship. And so that to me really stands out, because obviously you had guardians, you had people around you who helped raise you, and that was really key. But you were also born into a relationship with yourself. And so I love how we started today in the icebreaker, what have you learned about yourself? Because I think this is a really ideal time to really get to know yourself and deepen that relationship with yourself. I guess make more profound that self-compassion, that self-awareness, and what you've gained out of this. So this is, as Dr. Patrick said, this is more than just the loss of so many things. This is also an opportunity to gain and expand in new ways that maybe we never considered.
Thank you. And for those who are taking online classes at home, who don't have access to free exercise, Autumn, what are some examples of inexpensive at-home workout equipment? And how can household items be used if there's no equipment around?
Yeah, I will answer the question of what equipment do you need, but in all seriousness, there's only one thing that you need, and that is your own body. Okay, so you can use your own body weight to do so many exercises. You don't even need anything else. And you'll actually see this. If you go to that Recreation Movement 2020 website, you'll see that all of those fitness classes, they don't ask you to have any equipment. They're not asking you to have dumbbells or exercise bands or anything like that. They're going to do a workout where you're using your own body for cardio or for weights. But if you are interested in doing getting stuff around the house, there's actually a great Facebook video that our coordinator of fitness and well-being put together back when we all went to online classes back, I think he did this in April. And in this, he demonstrated how you can use books. You can use your book bag, like fill your book bag full of stuff. You can use a broom as kind of like a bar, you know, a weighted bar. You can use water bottles. You can use your chair or your couch as props. If you do want to purchase something, you could purchase exercise bands or dumbbells or things like that. And so if you go onto Facebook, and actually the video is on Facebook, but we have on several social media accounts on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. All of our handles are at TAMUC Campus Rec, and so you can go there. And this video, though, will show you how you can use all of this, you know, your books and your book bag and stuff, and how you can make a workout from it.
Mm-hmm. I actually watched the video where this lady used some of her canned foods to exercise as weights. So yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah. So in total, to assist everyone with the new normal, Caleb, what are some effective coping mechanisms students can use during this time?
Yes, and I'd like to share lots of things that have also been communicated to me in my answer. So I feel like quarantining, the precautionary measures has really disrupted a lot of our routines. So something that Dr. Patras and I hear pretty frequently is just how disrupted our schedules and routines are. So I kind of want to start with this one. So I think one of the most helpful things that you can do is kind of try to reclaim your schedule. So how I see this happening is, at least before when we had classes that we went to physically and stuff like that, at least we had something we looked forward to. We had the week. Okay, we had this time or whatever in which we dedicated a specific activity. For some people that was work, for some people that was relaxation, that was fun, that was disconnecting. But in this pandemic, we've seen that almost all the days tend to blur together. So what is this these kind of temporal anchors. So one of the really cool ways that I want to challenge everybody with and to know is that you can kind of reclaim your week by instilling and enacting certain anchors that help you, tell time in the week. So some really cool ideas I've heard from people is maybe making a specific day of the week every Wednesday, for example, making it a certain breakfast. So that's going to be your 12 stack of pancakes, okay? And so it's a small thing, but yet when it's Tuesday, your body, if you get this routine going, your body's gonna know like, okay, I'm missing something in my day to day. I'm craving something. Oh wait, I'm craving pancakes. It's one day from pancake day, so that makes today Tuesday. Same can go like if it's Friday, so I'm 2 days away from my pancake day, and I'm really looking forward to my next pancake day. But it's been 2 days, so that makes today Friday. So even little things that you can do to just kind of reclaim and set up some temporal anchors. So those are just things that reoccur in your week to help you tell time is really, really helpful. For athletes, I've seen some really interesting ideas. So for those athletes that run really long races, sometimes it's really hard to know how many laps they've done around or how many they have to go. So one thing that they do is they use temporal anchors to their advantage. They know that if I've crossed this lamp or this pole so many times, I'm on my second loop. So making stuff like that work for you is really, really helpful. Another really key, I guess, tip I want to put out there is also the power of imprinting. So imprinting is actually a biological term. Like whenever a bird hatches, the first thing they see, they want to associate with mother or caregiver, okay? Well, our bodies and we as humans can also do the same thing. In COVID, so just like we're all joining now from a specific desk or maybe even our bed, COVID has really disrupted where it is that we engage in certain activities. So for a lot of people, you probably are connecting to this session in the same place that maybe you sleep, maybe you do homework, maybe you have downtime, maybe, all these things, maybe even where you eat. And so a really cool tip and a very helpful, deceptively simple, but very helpful is find a different location for each of your activities. So designate a place, a desk, whatever it is for play, designate a table, a desk, whatever it is for eating, for downtime, for homework. This is going to help you and your body be aware that when you're in that place, this is what you do. Right?
And Nick,
and one more, if I can. This is actually a shout out to the Rec Center. I'd actually encourage all of you to get bilateral stimulation of the brain. So that is a very scientific word, but basically it just means to move your body in such a way that you're activating both hemispheres, okay? And there's really no better way of doing that than doing physical activity, dance, all right? All the things that you can do safely, as I am learning today at the Rec Center, those are gonna be great for managing your mood. So bilateral stimulation of the brain really helps you manage the hormone that is cortisol, the stress hormone. And so I can't emphasize how much movement and kind of shout out to Rec Center, how important that is.
Thank you so much. And Nick, very briefly, for those who are uncomfortable talking about their mental health and the challenges they face, what advice would you give them?
Great question. I would say go to our website. There are lots of tools, lots of resources at www.tamuc.edu/counsel, just the word counsel. TAL is Therapy Assistance Online. You literally have to not interact with anyone to take advantage of that tool. There are lots of lessons, tips, supports built into that Therapy Assistance Online. There are lots of assessments that are free that are on our website. So those are tools that can be used without having to actually come in or link up with somebody via Zoom to do counseling help. So I would say start there for sure.
Okay, thank you so much. Audience has some follow-up questions. I'll invite Deandra back to drive the Q&A session.
Thank you, Troy. My first question is going to be for Autumn. What are some challenges that are faced? What are some physical activity, what are some physical health challenges faced during this time?
There's a lot. I think that we're all in new environments. When I think of physical activity, I think of developing habits. And I think all of us probably broke all of our good habits and maybe formed some bad habits when our lives changed. And so I would just really encourage people that if you do want to increase your physical health, that you think about small little ways that you can put positive habits back into your life. And when I think of habits, I like to think of it, don't just have this like end goal of like, oh, I want to lose weight, or, oh, I want to look like this. I don't think that those are really healthy in the long term. What I'd rather people do is develop habits that change your identity. And so that you can really say to yourself, yeah, I'm an athlete, or yeah, I'm a person who works out, you know? Because then that identity, as you slowly build, maybe you're only working out for 5 minutes a day because that's all you have time for, right? But as that grows, then you become that identity, right? You're like, oh, I work out every day. It might only be 5 minutes, but I'm doing it. And so you develop this identity of someone who has healthy habits. And I think that goes for nutrition as well. I know that when I was working from home, and for students who are, taking online classes and are at home, it is so easy to just graze on like a whole bunch of stuff, right? And so trying to develop healthy habits around nutrition, and then also healthy habits around sleep. The more that we're online and the more that we're on our phones and all that screen time, it can really mess up our sleep cycles. And so just being aware of how that impacts you, and try to give yourself some space away from online stuff before you go to sleep.
Great idea. My next question is for Caleb and Nick. What are some resources available to help deal with some challenges when we're facing physical and mental health?
Have you going
Dr.
first?
Patras, go first.
Well, certainly, I've mentioned some of those resources that are definitely available on our website, and many of those, they're all completely confidential. You don't have to even share your identity. So we encourage people to go to our website and use all of those resources. And I definitely want to highlight again TAL, because it is so, the content is so rich. It's both video as well as sort of exercises that can talk about things like depression, anxiety, getting enough sleep, disordered eating. I mean, it goes into every comprehensive mental health challenge that any of us might have. And they're very, very well done, which is why we like the program, why we pay for it each year to have it available on our website, because it's just one more resource. It expands the reach of the counseling center, whereas there's only so much we as physical beings can do. But by having those tools and those assessments that can also help you determine, hey, am I really dealing with anxiety? Am I dealing with depression? And those assessments can be that clue to go, yeah, based upon this assessment and the results, maybe I ought to, engage and go set up an appointment to talk to someone online. So I would, that would be my first response, I guess.
Yeah, and Nick, Dr. Patras kind of referred also to the online confidential screening. So those are available as well online through our website. I love it, and I like to think of them as a checkup from the neck up. So that's a cool kind of way of looking at them. And again, those are free and confidential. Nobody gets to see those scores. And I do feel like sometimes it's really helpful to kind of know, like, should I be concerned? And you can fill those out for yourself, or should I be concerned with someone else? And so providing that guidance is really helpful.
Another question that we have from the audience that anybody is welcome to answer is, how can we deal with the anxiety that surrounds COVID and COVID testing?
Yeah, I think part of that, I'll at least give my thoughts, because I've been tested a couple of times as well, and so yeah, it's anxiety provoking, because number one, there's so much that's still unknown about COVID. I mean, some people have relatively minor symptoms, no symptoms at all, with a positive result, and some people have some pretty complicated health things. So it's only natural that it would be anxiety producing. I guess I would say the way I approach it and the way I recommend folks approach it is it better to not know or to know, so that if you know, you can actually take preventative measures for your health sooner. Not knowing means you may be dealing with COVID and not even know you have it, and it could be causing some problems that you're not even aware of. It's not nearly as bad as maybe we've been told, or that our friends have told us, oh my goodness, that test was horrible. And so I just encourage people to, it's kind of be working out there on your growth edge. Sometimes it is a little fearful, or it makes us uncertain, but that's where all good growth is anyway. We have to be a little uncomfortable, and certainly around matters around our health, around a pandemic. None of us have ever lived through a pandemic before, and so we're all experiencing those fears and uncertainties. But together, we will get through this together. And so I just encourage people to, even if you feel fearful, even if you feel anxious, kind of push yourself out there on your growth edge to go get the necessary testing, so you will know. And with knowledge comes, more control, more power, more choices.
Anything from anybody else?
I'll chime in just to kind of share that, just to put it out there. So I've, in my experience, kind of working with anxiety and helping others cope with anxiety, I feel like it's important to maybe note that anxiety has a sibling that goes along with it very often, and that sibling is avoidance. And so sometimes it's really hard to have one without the other. And so sometimes just working on one really helps managing the other. And so like Dr. Patcher said, so there's a lot of avoidance that goes in and keeps anxiety alive. So if we can encourage you a little bit, so sometimes if you're growing, if you're feeling uncomfortable, or you're kind of leaving that, I guess that comfort zone. And so do so, obviously taking precautions. But yeah, just wanted to share that.
Okay, and this question is for Autumn. What are your top 3 favorite at-home exercises, and how do you believe that they are the most beneficial?
I'll just say some of my favorites. Everyone's different, and I love that there is something out there for everyone, right? If you don't like sports, there's group fitness. If you don't like that, then there's outdoor adventure. If you don't like that, then there's just, the treadmills or the weight machines. And so there's something really out there for everyone. You just need to find what you enjoy. So a few of my favorite things are, I love to be outside. And so whether that means going to a state park and doing a little hike, getting on the water, not right now, it's a little bit cold for that, but just being outside, even if it's just walking around my neighborhood, I love to do that. The other thing that I love to do is stretching, especially now that we're so sedentary of just always, I'm always sitting in my office. Even though I'm back in my office, all of my meetings, I'm still on Zoom. And so I'm sitting at my desk all day long. I used to walk across campus to all of my meetings, right? Same with students. We're not walking across campus as much. So I need to stretch. Our muscles get so tight, and then you have other problems that manifest itself because of these tight muscles. And so I make it a point, you have to get physically warm. And so you need to do your workout first, and then you can stretch when your muscles are warm. And so I like to just do a lot of stretching. And then the third thing that I want to say is on the meetings where it's more like a webinar where I don't need to show my video screen, when I turn my video screen off, I literally pace around the office because I just want to get up and moving and not just be sitting at my desk all day. So if you have that opportunity where you are in Zoom things where, you know, you're not really having to share your screen, I would encourage you to just get up and moving just a little bit. Even in a small, like, you know, office that I'm in right now, I can still just kind of pace around.
Okay. And then I have another question. This question is for Nick. It came from my audience. He said, I have seen posts since to prepare for seasonal depression. Can you explain ways to do it and what that means?
Could you repeat that one more time, please?
Yes. This came from the audience. He says, I have seen posts saying that you should prepare for seasonal depression. Can you explain ways to do that and what it means?
Yes, and certainly we are entering that phase of the seasons where seasonal depression is a normal part of life for many folks. There's not much we can do. I mean, today, as you think about it, it's been cold and damp and dark, really pretty much all day long. Even in the middle of the day when I left the building to go home to grab some lunch, it looked like it was almost evening. So the one thing is, how can you bring light into your life? Be it go to the rec center, make that appointment and go to the rec center because it's very well lit over there. And how can you have movement and light are two things that are our friends that help with seasonal affective depression and that particular disorder. And so any way that you can encounter more light, natural light is better. That's a little bit harder to do sometimes in our winters. But fortunately in Texas, we do get more sunny days in winter than the folks that live way up north. And so I always tell the folks that I work with who deal with seasonal depression, get plenty of light as early in the day as possible and don't stop moving. Just like Autumn shared, when we're on these endless Zoom meetings, if you don't have to have your video on, move around, even simple movements. But Caleb, I'll tie both what Autumn said and Caleb said, bilateral movement. So rock back and forth from one foot to the other. All of that stimulation and movement in the body helps to offset those depressive symptoms.
Okay, thank you guys.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, speakers. Now to wrap up our discussion, what is one thing you will hope the audience and the campus get from today's discussion? You guys can all answer it and take turns.
I'll start, I guess. I hope that one thing that you get out of this discussion is that even though there's a lot of things that are out of your control with this pandemic, there are things that are in your control and that you are able to be your own wellness champion, that you can create healthy habits, that you can get moving, that you can take responsibility for that. And, you know, the MRC is a great place to go, but you're not dependent on that. And our department offers so much more than just a building, that you can, you know, see our online resources, and there's just so many different ways to be active. And so that would be my takeaway.
Caleb and Nick?
I'll jump in there. I think what the pandemic has shown us is that we're far more creative and resilient than maybe we give ourselves credit for. We've learned to adapt in ways that none of us have ever had to adapt before. Just like us as a center, we had to adapt very quickly and very rapidly to make sure we were able to serve the folks that need us. I think each of us in our own individual lives have found ways to adapt, to stay in touch with family, to stay in touch with friends, to reach out to people who maybe are isolated And to me, that brings some joy to my life when I'm making sure I'm in touch with people who maybe don't have family, don't have friends, to be that person for that other person who might be in need. That brings joy to me by helping and being available to other people. So I hope we'll all just give ourselves credit for, we're really way more resilient than maybe we give ourselves credit for being.
Thank you. Caleb, do you have anything to say?
Yeah, I guess a takeaway I'd like everyone to have and be aware of is the Counseling Center is here for you. And as we've seen on this edition of your online workshop, so not just the Counseling Center, the Rec Center as well. But yeah, we're the A&M Commerce is a community. We're a pride. We're here for you. I want to just remind people of our mantra at the Counseling Center. So that is support, that is connect, and that is empower. And so we are here for you. Even in the midst of social distancing, we can still continue to provide really high quality services. I'm very proud about that. I'm glad that we can now even reach and make what used to be a difficult situation in that providing counseling to students who are learning at a distance or in the Metroplex area, that can be done with a lot more ease thanks to technology. So I echo what Dr. Patcher says. As we live on through this pandemic, I would like everybody to also remind themselves it's an achievement to get through this. It is not something to be underappreciated, but also, again, just a reminder that the Counseling Center is here for you, here to support, connect, and empower you.
Thank you so much. This has been a great session on ways to stay active and maintain mental health while staying safe to keep ourselves and others people healthy and safe while being COVID-free. The goal of this session is the entire program is to facilitate COVID questions and answer questions the TAMUC campus have and to keep the campus COVID-free. We want to thank our guest speakers for taking the time to share with us. We want to thank our viewers. Let us know what you thought and help us spread the word. And we want to thank Week 3. May Week 3 turn the camera on and wave for us. Okay. Help us keep this conversation going and our campus informed, and connect with us on social media where we'll be posting some of the takeaways from the session and topic. During this time, you may find staying active is a challenge, or you may be experiencing stress a bit more than usual because of the quarantine and the pandemic. We hope today's conversation reminds you that you are not alone and that there's resources available to you. Be sure to tune into next week so we can talk about some common myths about COVID-19 and work to debunk this to make sure the information we are using and spreading is accurate. Thank you so much again for your time.